right, everybody. This is Chris and Will here, your hosts at the Beluga Pod. We're here to spend our time on crypto Twitter and waste our lives so you don't have to, and bring you the best of crypto in 30 minutes or less a week. Although I don't think we've ever stuck to that time so far, but we'll give it another shot this week. Lot going on, both a lot going on and not going on at the same time. I feel like we're still generally in this weird environment, and it hasn't materially changed. I think there's optimism that it will change, whereas there wasn't optimism before. But it feels bad, honestly. I think the price is still pretty sideways, although we got a nice little pump, and so things have been all over the place. Maybe we'll just start with majors and use that as the canvas to kick things off. Let me pull up my screen really quickly.
I think we had. I think I saw a tweet that it was like the last 7 or 8 weeks in a row or something we've seen a bounce on Monday, and then it just kind of slowly bleeds out through the rest of the week. Kind of seems, unfortunately, like what we're looking at.
It certainly feels like that's exactly what's happening.
I think
we had a nice little pump,
scheduled programming,
a nice little pump the last bit, and now we're going down again. Seems like a little peak. So what are we at? 11th of September.
I think ETF volumes are still quite low. Honestly, volumes just throughout the markets are still quite low. I think our big problem still is just lack of liquidity throughout the market. We talked about this last week, but we had so many of the major market makers in the space wiped out after FTX, and it really just you can see it in the list of active market makers. So objectively, we have not gained that back, but you can really feel it if you're actively trading in this market. It's just ping-ponging between range lines.
Retail's not coming in yet. It's like a whole thing. So, we'll see. If you look back 1 week, this is kind of where we were, right? Depending on where we were, we're kind of like, this is the 1 week. And it basically maps exactly where we are today. Zero change. A lot of futzing, nothing happened though, which is exactly how you describe this market. Doesn't feel good, not much is going on. But if you zoom out, it doesn't look great either. If you zoom out short term, it doesn't look great. You zoom out longer, it actually looks okay still, right? Yep. But you look at this and oh god, that doesn't look good. It's just again, it's not horrible, just it's boring. So
I'm curious to see
that's BTC.
With it's like every time we get this Monday pump, people are like, bulls back on. I definitely have some of those feelings myself. We'll see if this time it's true. I think, historically September's not great for us.
Exactly.
But I think one thing we maybe looked at 2 weeks ago, if I remember correctly, was the price action that we saw last year in September, where it was very negative heading into the month, and October turned out to be one of the best months that Bitcoin has ever had. So I'm not ruling out those odds yet. I think the macro condition is maybe not super favorable, and I also don't think, just given where we are price wise, that we could possibly have the same velocity of pump. But I'm holding on hope for that. And I think we're seeing some stirrings in kind of the altcoin market, even though I think Bitcoin dominance is still going up. But we are seeing some people paying attention to altcoins again. I think, they still have the same problem. We have too many tokens unlocking and not enough people to buy them. So altcoin 100%. Market is still very reliant on the liquidity thing that we mentioned before, but I don't know. Things feel like they're kind of turning around sentiment-wise, to me at least.
Yeah, I think it's better than it has been. Maybe we can just look at this one chart. This is a good example. It has gone well. People hype about AAVE, and this is, let's see, compared to last week. Last week we were here-ish. Isn't it? We were here-ish. Nice little pump, from last week. So
AAVE's been doing really well.
Yeah, AAVE's been doing very nicely, which is really to tell you how bad things are if this is very good.
I just my little look to the side just now was getting a ping from one of my trader friends who said he just opened a short on AAVE as we're talking about this. So we'll see who wins this one.
Oh God, dude. But yeah, things are just it's a lot of red. It is just today, of course, but it's a lot of red here.
I mean, it's just ping ponging. It's things, to your point, like if you look back at the prices from a week ago today, other than a few outliers, maybe we're basically in the same spot still. I mean, yeah, it's still a board market, but I think something I've talked about in the newsletter a couple times is I think in a board market, whereas before everybody's just gambling on meme coins and stuff because the volatility was there, and that's really just where the liquidity was. But when people get bored, I personally think they go towards boring things like 10% stablecoin yields in DeFi protocols and stuff. So
100%.
seeing, regardless of whether the AAVE pump is actually due to its fundamentals and people caring about DeFi, or the fact that Donald Trump is using it as a backend for his new crypto protocol, we're neither here nor there. But I do think that, Takey's kind of victory lapping, I think, a little bit too soon on this one. But I am seeing a lot more chatter around DeFi. And again, I think that's where people go when they're bored. You can get a stable, boring yield and make some pretty good money at the same time. So those are the tokens I'm looking at personally.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you called it a few weeks ago. I bought a little bit just to have some exposure. And then it turns out like you buy just enough to watch. And then what that all really tells you is like when it goes up, you're just like, fuck. Turns out I made some money, but like not nearly enough, I just made enough to not care and just enough to talk about, but not enough to do anything with it, So I don't think I could take my family out to dinner, It's like, I don't think I made it. Like I made like $50 on it, So it's not even useful, but here we are, So yeah, it's a story here, but yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just boring. There's nothing to do. People are searching for value, right? And if you look at things like AAVE, Uni, with the fee switch coming on into a lot of these things, it's sort of like, look, there's a couple things that just print cash. Why wouldn't we just use them and just get the money out of this thing and just provide, put our dollars into an ecosystem that actually prints and does something versus just, because you can't hold shitters at this time. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I've got a life, I can't just sit here and watch the screen and just get stabbed every day, by a bunch of anons on the internet. So I need to, let's just park it in normal stuff, hold it. Maybe we'll fuck around with some novel DeFi strategies and have a good time again. But yeah, I think that's the vibe. And just like you said, we're seeing a ton of innovation on the stablecoin side. There's a lot of stuff happening there, right? A lot of stuff happening in stable yields. I'm obviously wearing Plume hat, so I'm doing Plume stuff, which is very about stable yields and bringing things on. And so, again, I just think it's that time where we're introducing both of these things together, crypto native yields plus stable yields, and just finding a good way to make this whole thing happen. So, but we'll see. But yeah, I would say right now, I mean, I'm still just holding and buying majors. Every dip, I'm still buying majors, but that's probably it. If I were, I do feel a little bit late to the AAVE trade. And guarantee you I'm going to fucking buy it and it's just going to tank, really buy it and it's going to tank. So it's probably too late, but there may be some other things around the corner that are worth looking at. But yeah, anything else that you like, Will?
Yeah, I think this is kind of a controversial one, and I'm kind of jumping the gun because I haven't really scaled into this completely myself yet. Still kind of starting the DCA, but I think Curve is a pretty attractive token. I think something that kind of everybody forgot about. So I guess for more context behind that, I love buying tokens that everybody has forgotten about that I think might have some kind of attention-getting events in the future that also look bottomed. And typically, bottoms are very hard to pick. But when you have something, in the case of Curve, where the founder, Michael Ikarov, has had a massive share of Curve tokens for many years, and the way he decided to use his Curve tokens was as collateral to take out huge loans and buy a mansion, among other things. And basically what this did is created this massive potential black swan event for the token, because were his positions to get liquidated, it would cause the token price to absolutely get eviscerated. So it's been this kind of overhang forever. And actually earlier this year, it finally happened, which we can see at that huge volume spike right at the beginning of September, I believe. Or was it mid-July maybe? Something like that?
I cannot remember, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to me, the black swan event of a token happening is what will likely create a bottom if there's going to be one. So that's where I started taking a stab at it. And I also think that, it fits well into this kind of Dino coin, high float, low FDV, low attention point, bottom chart category that I think is going to get quite a bit of attention. It's a still popular product, and they generate quite a bit of yield. I think I was looking at, if anybody doesn't know the website Token Terminal, they're a great free resource for a lot of kind of TradFi-esque financial stats on these protocols. But I think Curve is still doing something like 50 to 100K a day in revenue, which is real. And I think people just aren't really paying attention to it. Not financial advice, do your own research. I think Curve has quite a few problems, so it's not all positives. But I don't know. That felt like a bottom to me, and that's why I started scaling in, but going slowly.
Nice. And Token Terminal, like you said, has always been great. And there's a bunch of stats here.
They did start paywalling more features recently, which is a pain. But in general, I think they're still really good. Yeah, it's probably worth having the premium version too, if the data you're looking for is paywalled. But yeah, good website.
Totally. I mean, now that we're talking about that, I was looking at the base stats here, because they can show you P&L in here, which was kind of interesting.
Yep.
What the fuck is it? Anyway, here are the financial statements. Anyway, so you can kind of look at like how's the money trending for these things. Oh, I see it. They are paywall stuff. Got it. But anyway, you can like see how all this kind of comes together, the definitions. And I remember looking at base and thinking, man, they're just ripping cash. It's doing like 50 mil a quarter on sequencer fees. And so it's just going really well. And so just kind of nutty stuff. But maybe, speaking of base,
speaking of
might be worth talking. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Where is this? Speaking of funny stuff on base. Oh, here we go. I don't know. Maybe Will want to just kind of give the backstory on base and what's going on. Not base, excuse me, on Friendtech.
On Friendtech.
And what's going on there.
Sure. Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, Friendtech was one of the first apps that launched on base, over a year ago now. And
you're right.
Basically, the concept were these paid chat rooms where, say, if there's an influencer or some expert or a celebrity or somebody who you may want to be in a group chat with, if they were registered on the platform, you could buy one of their keys or shares and you would be in their group chat, which, I think is kind of if you're talking like $5 to $10 for a key, I think that's like a pretty maybe cool prospect. But when you're talking about, people were spending, I think 5 or 6 ETH was the all-time high for Machi Big Brother's Friendtech key. And there were others trading around there. So people were spending, upwards of 15, 20K on just the privilege to be able to chat with these people. And you may ask yourself why. The answer is not because they actually wanted to chat with these people, but it was actually to farm for the Friendtech token. People really only wanted the Friendtech token because it was backed by a venture fund called Paradigm, which if you've been in crypto for a year or two, you have seen a Paradigm airdrop, and they tend to be huge. So that got everybody excited. The problem was there are 10% fees both ways on trading keys. So as they took, I think, 6 or 7 months between when the platform launched to actually dropping the token, all the traders just got chopped up from taking a 10% hit both ways on a transaction. It's an insane fee and just incredibly
expensive way to you really have to just to internalize 10%. It doesn't sound like that much to some people. I've never talked to them. It's not that much. I'm like, dude, so you really it had the profit. The appreciation has to be very high to make the math work. Otherwise you're losing by definition. Exactly. It's got to be 20%. Right, at the minimum that you think it appreciates, but it also doesn't take into account the bonding curve, like you said, which means when you sell, the price also dips. So you're not actually selling at that price either, right? So It's just a whole thing, and so it just made it incredibly hard to trade, which was maybe the point to start. So I'll give them some credit for that. But once you have volume, you can't keep it that way. It just disincentivizes any activity and usage.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, as you would imagine, people were losing money over time because that money from fees is not going back into the platform. It's going into, the team's pockets. And so volume basically went to zero. But when the tokens started coming around, you started seeing influencer tweets from all the big ones that Friendtech token was going to $10 and, all this stuff. Of course, it did not. It actually hit 10 cents the other day. So it's gone the other way. And people have been, this has been like a 6-month battle, I think, since the original airdrop, that people have just been complaining that they're not creating enough features. The team has basically just farmed fees off of the community, and nobody uses the platform anymore. So they finally made the decision on, what was it, over this weekend maybe? September 7th.
Just a couple of days, September 7th. This is the tweet that sparked it all.
Yeah, they made the decision to basically renounce the contracts for the project, which in normal people speak means that they are basically abandoning Friendtech. They made a clarification tweet later on that's not entirely the case, but it really is. And I think one of the funniest pieces of this whole thing is that Machi Big Brother, who's known as one of the biggest grifters in the space, managed to lose, I think, almost $17 million on this token trade. Is that right?
16.7.
Yeah. It actually may be lower now. He may actually be basically at zero. That's just insane. Actually, completely insane. He is not known for his trading prowess. He is known for grifting. So, I guess can't rag on him too much for that one. But yeah, just absolutely insane story. It's also, there's so much. We could probably record an entire podcast on the Friendtech shenanigans, but the founder, Racer, this is not his first time launching a project, farming fees, and then abandoning it. So there's really a whole backstory here, but crazy to see Machi losing almost 17 million on a trade. Now calling for a community takeover to try to save his business.
That's what CTO is, by the way. Community takeover, which means let's all buy the token and just basically run the thing on our own. But just hilarious overall.
Friendtech was for, I would say, probably the majority of the time Friendtech was around was the majority of the activity on Base, which is Coinbase's layer 2 network. And so now that it's gone, people are kind of thinking that, this is a huge hit to Base and it might be struggling. The interesting thing is all of the data says actually the opposite. The Base is hitting all-time high user counts, transactions, and stablecoin volumes. And I think my completely blunt take is that usually when you see metrics like this that are just you're scratching your head as to where they could possibly be coming from, it means that they're not entirely real, which I think there probably is a degree of in this case. But as, what is this guy's name? Monkey DeFi or something like that? Is this guy DeFi Monk? As this guy lays out in this tweet, the majority of this activity is being done within the Aerodrome, which is the largest decentralized exchange on Base, within the Aerodrome Ethereum pools. So basically what that means is people are trading a lot of spot Ethereum on chain. And the reason for that could be, and is most likely, that the fees on Base after the upgrade earlier this year, which enabled blobs, so basically transaction fees on Base are typically under a cent and execute very quickly. The theory, at least, is that most of this volume is people arbing the price from centralized exchanges to decentralized exchange prices and capturing the delta there. So who knows, really? I'm sure eventually we'll find out if all of this volume was real. But I would say it's it's both good for Base and Coinbase that they're capturing all this spot ETH trading volume, because I think owning both the centralized exchange space as well as the decentralized exchange space is pretty important. And you can see it in their sequencer fees, like we were talking about. 50 million a quarter is nothing to laugh at. But yeah, I don't know. I think Base really needs an identity, and they've been struggling with finding that. I think they just haven't really found the narrative. It was looking like it was going to be kind of a consumer product focused chain for a while, and now they're kind of going the full, high frequency trader institutional fund route, which
it's been
feels
weird.
Like an odd pivot to me. I don't know if it's just where they happen to find fit, and so that's where they're going. But
I'll agree.
I think
it's very strange.
Yeah.
They sort of like the types, like, because each chain has its own flavor, of people or the sort of vibe, right? And so ETH is kind of like your, at this point, the sort of like, it's more like it's like it's been in crypto, sort of like decentralization, world computer, ETH never goes down, blah, blah, blah. That's that group. Good or bad, that's one thing. Solana is like the new person, decentralization doesn't really matter. We're just building a new casino, we're just here to ape into dog coins, and do it in $2 increments, like that kind of shit, So like, and again, it's a certain, I may come off pejorative, but I don't mean it to be. It's just like what it is. And Base has never been, I just never really understood it, to be honest, it just didn't make sense to me. And you always had this sort of flavor. Even if you look at the shit coins on there, you have Normie, which is just a boring token. I mean, that's just not a fun token to trade. You have Brett, which is kind of like its own thing, which is also kind of funny. That's like such a rug. What was that cat thing they did? Fucking Miggles or whatever.
Miggles.
Anyway, just nothing on there. So Friendtech really was the thing for Base. And then after that, it's like nothing. Now, maybe Airdrome. Maybe it's Airdrome. Maybe it's like something like that. I think it could just be ARBs, like you said, ARBing stuff out there. So I think it's, again, we'll see. To their credit, it's gone well. I can't knock them, like relative to other L2s, they've done a great job with it. And Jesse's loud as fuck, and so I think that certainly helps. And yeah, so I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But look at these tokens. I mean, they're just fucking lame. So
yeah, there's just, it feels very boring. I mean, I even tweeted out from my account a couple, I think, weeks ago now that, I've got a ton of liquidity I would love to put on Base. Does anybody have anything to shill me? And I basically had nobody shilling me anything. I think people are just usually you get, hordes of people like buy my bags. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like no normal users. What I mean by normal, I guess, is like crypto native users, like your average everyday trader. It doesn't seem like any of them are on Base, really, which is interesting.
I don't think so either, yeah.
Given Coinbase's stature with the retail market in general, they just don't have that community. And actually, it feels not dissimilar from, if anybody remembers their NFT platform from 2 years ago.
Yeah. I forgot. That was a shit show.
They're going to... onboard all the retail market, et cetera, and it sucked. And it was kind of a similar thing where you could see that they were going for that consumer kind of retail, easy UX style platform, but it just didn't get the adoption that they were looking for there. It kind of feels like that's what happened with Base. They were going for, build your consumer app on our chain, and all the usage is coming from high frequency trading funds that are arbing prices. It's nothing exciting. It is, a big revenue generator, of course, but it's not what is going to bring retail participants to a chain by any means.
I agree with you. I agree. But, we'll see where it lands. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I land on it, honestly. I would say I don't even know enough to even speculate because I just don't fucking use it. I don't know anyone that uses it, just like you said. I'm like super unaware of what's going on in that ecosystem. I just know I don't give a shit. But for some reason, numbers keep going up. And usually that means there's some scamminess going on. But, we'll see. We'll see what hands here. But look, to their credit, I'm not going to knock them, but they've done a good job with it, and so we'll see where it lands. But maybe, let's flip it over to the other side. Let's talk about what everyone is talking about. Let's go to Polymarket real quick. I mean, like, you and I just used it the other day, because I mean, I've been looking at Polymarket. I talk a lot of shit here and there, and I like Polymarket, but, I was trying to use it. My God, it shit the bed for me today. But I don't know, Will, I know you've got a bunch of thoughts on this too. Like, talk to us about how your Polymarket reaction, especially coming off of the debate last night with Trump and Kamala, which, you would have expected a lot of volume and activity here, but maybe not. But talk to me.
I don't know. So the debate was last night at the time we're recording this, and I'm wearing my gambling hat right now. I was trying to gamble on it, and I think I logged on like an hour and a half or so before, and the platform just was not working, and it was basically a DDoS attack. The servers were not able to handle the load of everybody signing on, and usually that's fixable in 10, 20 minutes, maybe. You just get more servers online. They were not able to do that. And so I saw tons of people complaining about this, but a lot of people weren't able to place bets last night. I don't know how that affected their volume. I know that they hit their all-time high open interest a couple of days ago. But I mean, look, like, They should have known that they were going to get crazy traffic tonight. It's been all over my social media. I've even seen Normie. There's a tweet that went viral yesterday of some grandma who had bet that $2 on Trump saying a curse word or something. Like, they've been going completely viral. Everybody's talking about it, and they were not prepared for the server load, which is just disappointing to me. I mean, it happens for sure. But I was disappointed to see that because I think they've been crushing it this year so far. This is kind of the first big misstep that they've made, in my opinion. Outside of, I mean, there's been controversy around their truth oracle and all of that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Yep. That was disappointing. I hadn't really used Polymarket very much in the past because they didn't used to have enough liquidity. Now that's changed, but now they can't support the server load. So I hope they can pull it together. Yeah, I mean, I think all those negatives aside, as I mentioned, they've been going viral all the time. I mean, more than any other crypto app this cycle, and it's not even close. So I think
no question.
Credit where credit is due. They've been doing a really good job.
Yeah, no question. They've done a good job. Even though the volume sucks, user experience sucks, liquidity sucks. So all of those things are bad, but like at the end of the day, it
tells you what the bar is in crypto. Like,
I agree.
They're the, whatever your thoughts are, they're the industry leader on prediction markets in crypto right now by a good margin. Question. I mean, I don't think any of the existing options that I can think of are not even close.
Yep, I agree with that. It's not even remotely close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I was trying to find some stats on volume, but anyway, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. But I did the same. I tried to use it yesterday, and it just shit the bed. It just did not work. I couldn't instantiate the wallet. I even went. I haven't used Polygon forever, for fuck's sake. I was on DeFi. Yeah, I'm swapping and doing Polygon shit.
It's just little details like that. Like, most people won't give a shit about this. For me, it personally annoyed me. Their platform is still set up to use the old version of non-native USDC on Polygon, USDC.E, which has been
obsolete. I didn't even get there because I couldn't. Okay, oh shit.
Yeah, so they haven't converted to the new USDC, to the native USDC. The way that they convert now is they just have a built-in trade router that if it sees native USDC, it will convert it to the bridged version and then put that in your account, which was part of what broke yesterday. But it's such a sloppy little detail. Just convert to native USDC, make it easier. It's what everybody's using. You can't even bridge. None of the normal bridges even have the bridged version of USDC anymore. You actually have to swap into it on the other end. But yeah,
is that right? That's
little
funny.
Things were annoying to me.
I honestly didn't even know. I didn't even get there. I couldn't instantiate the fucking wallet, so I swapped over to Stables.
Realized because I realized it was like a workaround because I couldn't activate, is what they called it, activate the USDC that was in my wallet.
Okay, that was the same thing. That's part of. I couldn't get that working
either.
You
actually send native USDC, and the activation is them swapping it for the bridged version of USDC. That was what was failing. So if you just sent the straight up bridged version, it went straight to your account and activated. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff broken last night. It was not impressive. I hope that I don't think there's another debate scheduled, but like this election season is like one really, really long Super Bowl for Polymarket, and you can see it in their volume charts. All of their volume is coming from political related bets. I saw they were trying to break into like the sports book. I don't think that's a good idea. But they need something outside of politics because after November, people aren't really going to give a shit anymore. I saw somebody had a good idea that they should be doing like reality show bets. So like, who's going to win The Bachelor, that type of thing. I think that was a good idea, honestly. Embrace the slop betting. It's too many sports books to compete with. I don't think there's any reason to do that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we'll see. After November, they're going to have to figure something out.
Yeah, because like if the biggest event in the world is going to give you 60 mil in volume, it's still just not nearly enough. You know what I mean?
Well, they're doing fair. They're doing decent volume. The open interest isn't that high though. It's just a lot of people trading back and forth, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, all right. I'll cut him some slack. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to left. But look, at the end of the day, like usually the sign of something working is when it sucks ass and it still is ripping, And so to be fair, like, it tends to be working. So,
well, I mean, I think it's not dissimilar from how people kind of view crypto in general, that like blockchain technology is, for sure good. And that's kind of inevitable. So people kind of embrace how shitty the entire crypto market is for now. I feel like Polymarket is kind of in a similar stage to where we know there's something here on the side of decentralized prediction markets, like they've set up in the style of like a normal automated market maker liquidity pool. We know there's something there. We found product market fit. It's just the wrapper around it is not good enough yet. It's not quite there.
Yep.
But a lot of other ones launching soon, so maybe somebody will pick up the slack.
Yeah, a tremendous amount of copycats coming to market all over the place, and that's how it goes, I guess. And maybe last, we can jump to kind of a last area. There's been some stuff going on in the Solana world this week that's kind of interesting to talk about. Maybe first off, we can talk a little about some new Solana stuff, some SVM shit. Atlas here. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know much about this other than my recollection of it was that Eclipse, which is another SVM L2, went and, did their thing. And this ended up being the classic paradigm spin to it, right? Where they went out and, they saw something in the market.
Didn't know that's what this was. Nice.
And went down that road and built their own. And so... anyway, so yeah, let's see what's going on here. But yeah, what do you think? What's your take? I don't know a ton about this.
I mean, I don't know anything about it outside of this thread. it came up in my feed because a bunch of the influencers were reposting it and stuff. I just think it's funny was it last week that we were talking about the network extensions thing?
That's right.
The trend of Solana people like rebranding things for very superficial reasons is so funny to me, which is what was pointed out here. Like this is just basically the same thing as Eclipse. It's Solana execution layer with settlement on Ethereum, which, when presented the way Eclipse did, I think I remember a lot of people were not super excited about it. But, if you present it as this novel new blockchain for verifiable finance, it's not SVM on, or I don't even remember how they differed in branding it, but they're like not calling it a layer 2 really. It's this whole dance. yeah, I don't know. I'm not super excited for this one, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I don't understand the
all.
purpose.
No,
I said the same
no.
thing, I think, back when we were talking about like Eclipse and Neon. I wish them all the best, but I don't really understand why you would do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. So we'll see. I mean, it's another chain that nobody wants, but here we are. As someone who's also building a chain, I'm in no position to be talking about this type of stuff. But oh God, this is why we're so down bad right now. We keep shipping things that we just need to have users instead of shipping new infra. But we have some maniacal focus on shipping infra. But here we are.
I think one kind of interesting tangential topic that a lot of people have been talking about are how poorly a lot of these crypto venture funds are probably going to perform as of like the end of this year, given how many of these unlocks are coming for the low float, high FTV altcoins that they've all invested in. There aren't enough people to be buying those tokens, which just like objectively means some of the funds who have those locked up bags that are still vesting are going to be ending at a loss. If nobody is buying those tokens from them, they are losing on them.
100%.
Somebody has to lose. So I'm pretty curious to see how that goes, because we already have we have a lack of liquidity in the market. We don't need more funds blowing up. But I do also think that there's an argument for these shitty funds who have been just farming slop off of the crypto market for years now, blowing up and making way for actual quality funds that are managing money professionally and properly. I think that could source liquidity, because crypto in general has a problem with like image. People think that we're not professional and it's a big scam, etc. We really need. I think the ETFs have made some headway there with a lot of the world's biggest asset managers hopping into the space, but we can't have VC funds just, dumping on retail with absolute slop that nobody wants anymore. Like that has to change. And I think it is like it has to and will change, because there aren't enough people to be buying these tokens. So
I agree with you.
Speaking of one of those tokens, we've got it on the screen right now, but Drift Protocol is a decentralized perpetuals exchange, which has kind of been a hot topic for the last couple months, mostly because of Hyperliquid has like totally popped off. I think there's a huge market for exchanges like this, because as an American myself, I can't access most of the good perps platforms that are on centralized exchanges like Binance or Bybit or, pick one. So having access to a decentralized one where there's no KYC and I can use it from the US is pretty important. There's a lot of people like me. So it's a huge market, and we really just haven't had somebody take it over. I think Hyperliquid has done a pretty good job. I think they have like 50 or 60% of the market share now, last I looked. But the product's like, almost there.
I haven't used it. Okay, I haven't used it. I couldn't tell you.
I think I've heard the trading experience is good. The UI is nice. The UX is good. I think the biggest problem is just liquidity. And when you're competing with centralized exchanges, for people who don't have a choice like me, we'll use it. But for anybody who does have a choice, they're just going where the liquidity is. So,
100%.
Drift is one of those perps dexes, which I have not used myself. I have heard only bad things about it. People do not like using it. The liquidity is very thin. I saw a ton of chatter around when you open a position, you are instantly at a loss because the execution is so horrible. You just can't have that as a perps exchange when people are degenerately trading on like 20, 25x plus leverage. If your execution is bad, you are destroying your users. Yeah, this is actually one of the tweets that I saw. Multicoin, which is a huge fund, and I think in general pretty well respected, put out this huge piece about how, well, maybe Chris, you might know more about it, but basically this piece about how, Drift is worth, 500 million FDV, blah, 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 yada, yada, buy the tokens,
should be at least, I think they said it should be 4-ish billion, I believe.
That's just so insane to me. And per the first part of this conversation that we were talking about, where these funds need people to be buying their bags, I think this is just like an exit liquidity pump style letter to me.
I thought it was insane too.
I think they know that people aren't looking to buy this protocol. They need to be bull posting it, or nobody's going to buy it. So,
right, exactly. Yeah. Which is not to say it's bad. I mean, I think it's a fine product. I don't really have any issues with it, but it's just the hilariousness around how, like, the report itself just seemed ridiculous. Just like this whole thesis about it. It's like you ever use Drift for a couple minutes, you kind of get a real sense of what's going on. And then they had that chart in there about market share. And it's like, it's still tiny. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, do they have some cool mechanics under the hood? Yeah, it's not crazy, and kind of interesting. But, on the other end, yeah, it's hard to say, I don't know. I don't want to shit on anyone too much.
Yeah,
but
they're trying to value the present business on potentially speculative projected future business. Like, that makes no sense.
Right.
You
exactly.
start to value the business when it's actually happening. Like,
right.
I don't know. It just seems crazy to me.
I agree with you. I think it's tough to understand. And, here we are, I guess. And so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, just another day. I mean, like you said, it's just funny to think about how this whole thing works. And like you said, you take into account the state of the market today and like what we need to happen and what's going on to then write this whole thing, buy these tokens, say it's going to happen. It's just hard to believe, and I don't really understand what's going on there. So like you said, it doesn't feel like a very positive thing, so we'll see where it lands. But yeah, I think, that's about it. But yeah, I don't know. Another day in crypto, I guess.
Another day in crypto. We have some potentially exciting stuff coming up, like Token 2049 next week, breakpoints in 2 weeks?
Yep. Exactly.
Who knows?
So hopefully some cool stuff comes out of there.
Usually we get like a huge dump during these conferences, but maybe this time it's different.
Yeah, agreed. Although I've heard that and said that before, so we'll see. But yeah, usually that's kind of what it is. So we'll find out. Oh, good. Cool. Well, I think that's it for this week. As always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys soon.
Yep. Catch you guys next week.
See ya.